There's no let-up on the part of the Russian leader, saying that I'm proud to be part of a multinational people of Russia, that Russians and Ukrainians are one people, says that Ukrainian forces took thousands of foreign citizens hostage, including students. The Ukrainians are disputing all of this, of course, but the bottom line between the messages you're getting and, of course, the sentiment that's building out of Russia is they're not really changing anything. Joe Lieberman joins us right now, the former Connecticut senator, former vice presidential candidate. Senator, always good seeing you. Thank you. I was noticing, Senator, the more frightening words are coming out of Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, who obviously parrots whatever his boss is saying or demanding that he say, that we will continue the Ukraine war until the end. This is the same guy who had looked at a nuclear option, echoing a sentiment from his boss of alerting Russian nuclear personnel. This gets pretty scary here, but this is a whole nother level of crazy and scary, is it not?
Yeah, and of course, I think this is why Lavrov and Putin have been saying what they're saying, including about even raising the specter of using nuclear weapons. I think they're playing with our heads and the heads of the Ukrainian people. They overreached on this one. The world responded with tough economic sanctions, which really are hurting Russia. We're helping the Ukrainians who have been courageous, but honestly, on the ground and in the air over Ukraine, the Russians are a much stronger force. And the question now is, in this really defining crisis, and I say defining in the sense that it'll define how secure the world is for the next period of history, are we just going to sit back and not offer more help militarily to the Ukrainians? Because it's not just Russia that may go on from here to other countries like Georgia, but the Chinese are watching this carefully. And if we let Putin take Ukraine, they're going to be tempted to go after Taiwan. The same is true of the despots in Iran and in North Korea when they contemplate going after their neighbors. So, look, if it was up to me, I would impose a NATO no-fly zone over Ukraine. At a minimum, I would move in some of our special forces covertly on the ground and NATO special forces to work with the Ukrainian military to stop the Russian advance. They're committing war crimes, but that doesn't matter to Putin. But it should matter to us.
All right, locking down that air zone, though, requires a much more organized effort on the part of NATO and the United States, something the president says he's not keen to do because it could push us into World War III. How do you think that would be handled?
Yeah, there's no question there's a real practical problem because some of the NATO countries would not be involved in this. You know, Neil, I've been thinking back to the early 90s when Serbia particularly invaded Bosnia and, in my opinion, began to commit genocide against the Bosnians. And a group of us, it was quite a remarkable group that I was privileged to be part of, led by Bob Dole, Joe Biden, and John McCain. And we kept pushing our government to get into it. Finally, President Clinton did, after a massacre at a place called Srebrenica. There was a risk to that, although Serbia is not Russia. Russia is not Serbia. Russia is much stronger. But I think anytime you let the thugs or the criminals have the advantage because you worry what could happen if you use your force, you're giving the bully the playground, and a lot of people are going to get killed, and that's exactly what's happening in Ukraine today. So I know there are risks involved, but I think this is a critical moment in world history that'll say a lot about how safe we and our kids are for the next generation or two.
No, you're right about that. Joe Lieberman, very good catching up with you. Thank you for joining us.